Hello, I'm Teacher Robin. Welcome to another live streaming class. If this is your first time to watch a class, let me explain how it works. Today we're going to talk about comparative adjectives in English. So if you have a question during the class, feel free to write it in the comments and I'll be checking your questions as we go along. And at the end of my lesson, I have a few questions for you to practice what we've learned, and you can write your answers in the comment section as well. Okay, so this is more of a basic grammar topic, but it's something that some people have trouble with. So let's review and make sure that you're using comparative adjectives properly in English. Okay, so there are different kinds of comparative adjectives depending on the number of syllables. Okay, so let's start with one-syllable adjectives. If we have a one-syllable adjective, we add the ending ER to the end of the adjective, okay? And after that, we follow it with the conjunction than. So let's look at a couple examples. We have the adjective here, tall, okay? So that becomes taller because it's one syllable, so we add the ER ending, so taller, okay? So in a sentence, we could say, for example, Jane is taller than Claire, okay? So it's important to have this than here because it shows that you're making a comparison between two things, okay? Another example, a one-syllable word is old, okay? So we add the ending ER and that becomes older. For example, my sister is older than me, okay? What happens with two-syllable adjectives, okay? Well, if you have a two-syllable adjective, you change the Y to I. If it ends in Y, you change the Y to an I, and then you add an ER at the end. So we have the word funny, so that's a two-syllable adjective ending in Y. So here we remove the Y and we add an IER. And again, you need this comparative than after, okay? So we have funnier than. For example, that comedian is funnier than the other, okay? Another example, the adjective pretty, okay? So we remove the Y, it becomes prettier than. For example, the purple flowers are prettier than the yellow ones. Okay, if we have two or more syllable adjectives, and if it's two not ending in Y, okay, so we just looked at two-syllable adjectives ending in Y. If the adjective has two or more syllables and does not end in Y, the rule changes. So we add the adverb more or less, depending on the kind of comparison that we want to make, before the adjective, okay? So the adjective itself, in this case, does not change. We simply add this word more or less. Okay, so let's look at a few examples. The adjective expensive, okay? This has three syllables and does not end in a Y, okay? So this would become more expensive than or less expensive than, depending on the context. So let's look at a sentence. My car is more expensive than your car, okay? Another adjective with three syllables is dangerous. Okay, so dangerous, we would add more or less before the adjective. So in this case, we could say less dangerous than. For example, tennis is less dangerous than football. Okay, now it's important to keep in mind that not every adjective follows the rules that we've just looked at. There are some irregulars, okay? So I'm not going to go through all of them, but I'm going to give you some examples of a few of them. But first, I see that a few people are joining us already. Wida, Shasan, and Yen are saying hello. I hope I pronounced your name right. Thanks for watching. And again, if you have a question, feel free to write it in the comments. Okay, so let's go back to irregular comparatives. Okay, for example, the adjective good. We do not say gooder, we say better. Okay, so good becomes better and we still use the than after it. Okay, so better than. Bad is not better. it becomes worse, okay? So worse than, for example. And the adjective far, this is a bit of a special case because there's two options, okay? So far becomes farther with an A or further with a U, okay? And I'll show you the distinction there in just a minute. So let's look at some examples. My English is better than my French, okay? The weather in England is worse than in Spain, okay? So let's look at this difference between farther and further, okay? So they mean the same thing when we're talking about distance, but only further can be used when we're asking someone for additional information. So if I say, can I have further information? It's the same as saying, can I have additional information? Okay, so keep that in mind. You wouldn't say, can I have farther information? No, I want further information, for example, about the comparative adjectives. Okay, so we've just done a very quick, brief review of comparative adjectives. I hope this has cleared up some of your doubts. I know that people make a lot of mistakes with this topic in English, but if you memorize these rules, it will become a little bit easier for you, and hopefully you'll make a habit of it and you won't make mistakes with comparative adjectives anymore. Okay, so now I want you to practice in the comments, all right? I have two questions or two challenges for you. I want you to write a sentence with a one-syllable adjective, okay? So how do we change these one-syllable adjectives? And write a sentence with a two-syllable adjective ending in Y, okay? So what do we do with the two-syllable adjective that ends in Y? So try to think of a sentence, a comparison that you can make using a one-syllable adjective and a two-syllable adjective ending in Y. And if you want to go even further, you can write as many examples as you want, and I'll be checking them as we go along. Okay? As you're writing your questions, or as you're answering my questions, as you're writing your answers, or if you have another question, let me tell you a little bit more about our course here at ABBA. We have a complete course from beginners to business level, and each unit, the course is composed of 144 units, so each unit starts with a short film. Then you have a video class explaining grammar, and you have exercises to practice all of your skills. So reading, writing, listening, and speaking, this is all covered in every unit of the course. So you can take our level test, you can see where you are, and you can study with us. If you want more information, go to abbaenglish.com and sign up to study with us today. As well as, in addition to our course, we're on all of the social media networks, so Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, YouTube. You can find new content being posted on those channels every day, so it's a great way to practice and learn something new in a short time, on your way to work, before you go to bed at night, so you can always learn just one little thing in English, and that makes a big difference, okay? We also have our blog, which is called our ABBA Journal. There you can find articles about more grammar points, so more information about topics like today's topic, comparative adjectives. You can find information, really practical information like English for travel or English for business. So really any topic you can possibly think of, we have it covered on our blog, so check that out as well. Okay, let's see who has a question. I see we have a couple already. Awida has asked if we said better than if it's an adjective also. Yeah, so the adjective is good, so the comparative is better than. So it's still, yes, it's an adjective, but it's an adjective being used as a comparative. Okay, I hope that that makes sense. All right. Yin says bigger, happier. Okay, good. So bigger, in this case, yeah, so when you have an adjective ending in G, we add an extra G, so we double the G, B-I-G-G-E-R, okay? So this is regular, but we have to double the G, okay? And then with happy, that ends in Y, so we drop the Y and we add I-E-R, okay? So great examples, Yen. And if anyone wants to write a complete sentence to make a comparison, feel free to do that as well. Okay. Camel asks if modern can be more modern or not. Yes, exactly, because modern is a two-syllable adjective, but it doesn't end in Y. So we can say more modern, and that's fine. You wouldn't say moderner. That sounds a bit funny. So we would say more modern or less modern, depending on the context. Okay, great question, Camel. Let me tell you about next week's topic, and we'll keep checking if there are any more questions. Next week, we're going to be talking about English for customer service. So if you have to use English at your job, and specifically if you have to deal face-to-face with clients, or you have to talk to clients over the phone in English, this is going to be a really practical class for you. So English for customer service. Tune in, and even if you don't have to use English at your job, or if you don't work in customer service, I'm sure there will be some topics that are interesting for you, or maybe you'll learn something new anyway. Okay, so I invite you to join us same time next week for our live streaming class. Okay, if there are no more questions at this time, I invite you to keep writing in the comments, and I'll be checking your questions later on today, tomorrow. So if you think of something, or if you want to write a few more examples and have me check them, then I'm happy to do so. So please check in the comments. So I hope today's class has cleared up some of your doubts. I hope it was helpful for you. I hope you enjoyed it. If this was your first time watching, then let me know in the comments what you thought of the live streaming classes. If you have any suggestions for topics in the future, then feel free to write them. And I want to mention that all of our previous live streaming classes you can find in the video section of our Facebook page. So if you click on videos, you'll see we have tons and tons of classes that we've already done about all kinds of different topics, so you can catch up on your English there as well. Okay, so thanks again to everyone for joining. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye!